So welcome. This presentation is entitled Getting Familiar with BIM 360. In this, I'm going to introduce you to the 7 different BIM 360 offerings. I'll give you kind of a broad overview of how they all work together, what the purpose of each of the offerings is, and then how they're united. Initially, I'll go through a slide presentation that describes each of the tools, gives you some context of how they work, what features they each have. Some of them will be a little more brief as we get to some of the stuff like ops and layout, the stuff that's a little more operation maintenance focused. But after I go through the slideshow, then I'll jump into the actual product and give you a live demo that focuses on docs, which is the core feature or the core product, as well as a little bit of design, which is for Revit collaboration. The GoToWebinar product does actually give you the ability to ask questions and raise your hand and stuff you'll see in your interface. At the end, I'll take a little time to answer questions, but feel free to ask them as they come up, and then I'll just see them at the end, and we can try to answer those. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what BIM 360 is. BIM 360 is Autodesk cloud offering that's meant to consolidate a project all the way from initial design and document management all the way through construction and then all the way into maintenance at the end. Autodesk's been hard at work on developing a lot of these tools internally, and then what they've been deficient in, they've purchased and added to the suite. And then they've been working to bring all those things together, and really they all work off of the core engine, which is docs. Let's get started on this slideshow. All right. So there's 3 factors that are in play. They're changing how document control is handled. There's overwhelming pressure to process a huge volume of documents, manage versions, and release accurate information. Those are some of the things that Autodesk Docs is trying to fulfill. So what Autodesk BIM 360 Docs is going to give you is the ability to version control all your documents. It's going to be a central source of truth for the latest version of all your design documents, all the way through plans. It can give us mobile technology so that we can view those latest versions in the field or via web. And it all happens in real time and is easily controlled and managed from anywhere. As document control has become democratized, sorry, got another call, and a collaborative effort, there have been a number of technologies that have appeared on the scene. But the problem is that they're all sort of disparate. So we've got cloud-based storage things that people are using like Box and Dropbox. We've got separate PDF software. We've got field apps that might let us view our models. But each one is separate, and it's hard to bring them all together. What we find in our conversations with a lot of you, both contractors, designers, is that they really require a central unified product to bring all of this together. And while there's benefits to each of the individual technologies, like I said, all the applications have very specific purposes. Some of the primary tools we use for PDF, really the tools we use for all of our disparate cloud offerings, often lack version control, and that's where BIM 360 comes in, really spanning the building lifecycle. So in pre-construction, we're going to be using Docs, Glue, also Design, which isn't on here. And then we're going to go into Plan and Layout and Field, and you can kind of see that each of these offerings, they're tied together, the data is shared across them. and it's one source of truth that runs throughout the whole project life cycle. And then one of the things that is critical, actually, that I'm really excited about, is that all this stuff is built on the Autodesk Forge API. The Autodesk Forge APIs essentially mean that all the products in BIM 360 are accessible via APIs. They're all built on a common code base, and that allows us to take them beyond their out-of-the-box functionality. So we can get into these, make them interact with non-Autodesk products. We can make them pull data they don't normally pull. Just as some of you are aware, you can create plugins and stuff for your desktop applications like AutoCAD and Revit. We can do the same with the BIM 360 products through the Forge APIs, and just add a lot of functionality, and take our 3D geometry data from different products and transfer it. And it really means that there's a lot of capability that's yet untapped. All right. So now I'm going to get into BIM 360 Docs, which, as I said, is the sort of the engine that drives all the other products in the BIM 360 offering. It helps ensure that the entire team is building from the correct version of documents and plans. It offers tools for publishing, managing, reviewing, and approving plans, models, and documents from the earliest phases of the project all the way through owner occupancy. And like I said, cloud-based, accessible from your desktop or mobile apps at any time, which is great. And as I said in the beginning, also, we'll be this is sort of an overview for Docs. You're not going to see in these slides a lot of how it actually works, but after I go through the slideshow, we'll actually get into the product itself. So what does Docs do? We can automatically publish PDFs, views from our Revit model. We can use it to control access via role-based access control, version control, and linking. It's highly integrated with Autodesk BIM 360 products. With Autodesk desktop products. So we can actually get documents in and out of Docs through the native applications like Revit and AutoCAD, and then we can use the mobile app to view. Here, let me minimize my control panel. We can use it to mark up models in the cloud. We can compare models in the cloud, and then, like I said, it always is going to leave for the users at the end. The latest models are going to be available. Everybody's going to have the latest and truest model. So it can help to publish documents. It automates common and repeatable tasks that recur throughout a project. So we can, for instance, we can automate the extraction of sheets from Revit models. So when you upload a Revit model to Docs, not only do you get the model in Docs, but we can also automatically pull out, say, all of our sheets as individual 2D models in Docs. It does OCR recognition of title blocks to automate the naming process. So when we're uploading, it can look into our PDF title blocks, and it can see what the sheets are named, and it can automatically use that for the name in Docs as well. And then merging and separation of PDF sheets as well is included in there. So it's logical, and it's a single repository for all your models and your plans. It aids in sharing documents by ensuring the right people have access to the right information. So to do that, we've got the logical folder-based structure that we'll see a little later on. We can see the percentage of completion on phases. It automatically tracks and maintains versions, which is going to allow us quick navigation between versions. We can help. It helps us to identify the changes, pull back to an earlier version if we want to. And then we can control the release of information to both designers, subcontractors, and field personnel through access control. And we can control access control through individual users. We can do it by We can do it by company, and we can also do it by role, which gets assigned to individual users. Docs has the ability to bring in files from anything, basically. So you can we can upload to Docs through the native design applications like AutoCAD and Revit. We can also just upload directly through the web interface, really any file type you want, and they can be kept up there and versions, and people can have access to them. Similarly, most of the Autodesk products have a built-in viewer. We'll talk about that in a moment. So in the web, you can actually view the product. All right, and then for viewing, we've got mobile access. So there are iOS apps and web interface for all these files, and the Autodesk file types, like I said, can be viewed right in the web, right on the iOS app, both 2D and 3D, and we can see the object properties from these as well. Docs also allows us to mark up. So in these 2D views and these 3D views, we can create issues. We can put in markups on the plans, red line right there in the web or on the app, and we can assign those issues to people. As we'll see a little later on, we can create reports. And then as those users log in, they'll actually see, what issues have been assigned to them. They can go immediately to the markups and take care of those issues, just like that. By centralizing all these documents into a single cloud-based app, the entire project team will be working from the latest documents, plans, and models all the time. So they'll have the right information, reducing the risk for errors and a little less time wasting. So this single source of truth is the first of 3 important differentiators that BIM 360 Docs brings to the industry. The second, I guess what I would call differentiator for Docs is the ability to keep the office and the field in sync, which addresses the challenges of collecting, coordinating, and communicating changes and versions, which we've kind of talked about. Let's skip this slide, actually. So I'm sure you all understand what the benefits would be, but you can kind of get a little graphical representation here. The traditional execution of a project can have a drop-off when the handoff goes from each stage, and the purpose of BIM 360 is really just to not have that drop-off. You're working with the same documents, and you can just move them from designer to engineer, contractor, all the way through owner, all on one curve. All right. Like I said, we'll jump in and I'll show you the ins and outs of Docs after the slideshow. BIM 360 Design is the second BIM 360 offering we're going to talk about. And there's three sort of big main features of BIM 360 Design. One is Revit Cloud Worksharing. Some of you may know this as C4R, Collaboration for Revit, which was its previous name. It's now just called Design. And so what Revit Cloud Worksharing allows is, I guess you're only interested in this if you're a Revit user. Worksharing allows multiple users to work on a Revit file all at once. Typically is done on your local area network, just with a central model on your server. What Design and Revit Cloud Worksharing allow you to do is put that central model up on the cloud, and the worksharing, pretty much works identically. However, now you can have people working on the same Revit model anywhere in the world through the BIM 360 Design connection, right in Revit. BIM 360 Design also requires and comes with the document management module, which we just talked about, so Docs. If you are interested in the design module, just realize that Docs is a part of that. And then there's the design collaboration module, which is actually in the same interface, the BIM 360 interface on the web. and it allows for package review and visual version control, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. All right, so let's look at these the cloud work sharing. So because we're using the same engine, which is called Docs, for our BIM design work sharing, you can also access those same files through the web. We can access, we can control access for different users, just like we talked about with Docs, and that's going to apply also for the use of the models in Revit. So like I said, folder permissions will control who has access. And that allows us to then take, for instance, the architectural team, the structural team, the MEP team, and give them access only to their own folders, which means they can't modify each other's Revit models. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the release process, where we can actually, if I'm an MEP designer and I'm ready to release my MEP design to the other teams, then I go about that process through the design module, and it becomes available to them. So it allows for working files to be kept separate from release files to the other teams. So let's talk about that design collaboration module. All right, so we have a work in progress RVT, and that's for the architectural team. In there, we can iterate our design, we can review it, just like you're used to do it on a local area network-based work shared model. When we're ready and we want to release it, we can package it and we can share it to the BIM 360 design module. That's going to allow other teams, like the structural team over here on the right, to review and consume that architectural model. So it becomes available to them. They can link it into their structural model. They can take a look at it, mark it up, all that kind of stuff. They can then do their design, package it and share it, and it can go back the other way to the architectural team. So we've got individual repositories for the teams where they can iterate and design. You can put them up on the shared project data area, and then they can be consumed by the other teams. A little screenshot of what the design collaboration interface looks like. You can see the model at the bottom, and then up top you'll see the different teams. So it might be different subcontractors, and each one of those dots up there is a packaged release. So they've come to that point and said, hey, we're ready to release this to the teams, and they put it up there. It's easy to look at all the different releases and choose which one you're going to consume. This slide shows design collab. Really, it's showing us that you can quickly tell through versioning what's changed in a model. So you can see that here in this example, we've got one thing added and one removed, and some modifications as well. And that happens automatically every time you upload a new version of a model. All right, moving on to BIM 360 Glue. So Glue, if you're familiar with Navisworks, you can think of Glue really just as Navisworks in the cloud. What it allows you to do is take models from a bunch of different design tools, put them all together in the cloud, and look for clashes, as well as use that combined model in the field to do measurements and red lines and markups and stuff as well. So I'm going to go through a quick little example in this section where I show you what how to do a clash detection, because we probably won't have time to get into it in the live demo. So let's see, we've got let's see, we'll talk about web-based project administration is really what we're talking about when we say anytime, anywhere access. Same stuff we talked about before, setting up projects, assigning users and permissions is all done through a web interface, so it's accessible to the project managers anywhere, anytime. This is the interface that a user will see when they log in. For their project, they'll see all the merged models. They'll see the latest activities, and they can then dive deeper into that stuff if they want to take a look at what's going on there. Models can be uploaded to Glue either natively in product. So you can see here we're in Revit, and there's a button up there on the Add-ins tab for Glue, and that's going to allow you to upload your model right to Glue from there. Here you'll see an image of all the models that have been uploaded, and so this process is how do we take all the individual models and what's called glue them together to make a merged model. And so we just create a new merge model by checking all the models that we want to include. Then we give our merged model a name, and then we get the resulting merged model. Notification and collaboration, this just is a note to say that Glue automates the process of notifying team members of changes. So when we find a clash, if I assign it to a team member on the project, they're going to automatically get an email with a link, take them right to the clash where they can take a look at it and try to figure out what's going on. Like in this case, you got steel and duct that are clashing. All right, so let's talk about how you actually set up a clash. So clash detection is inherent in any model-based coordination process today. So let's see one in action in an aggregate model. So we click on clashes. You can see all the models, and if, like I said before, if you're familiar with Navisworks, this is going to look pretty familiar to you. We check the two models we want to compare, and we set a tolerance, and then we run it. The clash runs, and then we can see all our clashes. We can add comments. We can assign users to each of those clashes. Here we are assigning a user and notifying her. So again, it does all the hard work for you right in the cloud. Clash detection takes place there. It's all stored there. Users are notified in the cloud. It's accessible from anywhere you want, through a desktop app, through the web, or through an iOS app. Another cool feature is that actually if you're in Revit, once that clash detection has been done, back in Revit, you can pinpoint the clashes in the model. So I can find, okay, duct versus steel, can view that in Revit, and it'll take me to the individual item that is clashing, and then I can make the change that I need to there to update the model. Get warning when the model's changed. I can update that model and then add my comments. All right, and then I've mentioned it a couple times with the mobility. So there is a Glue, there's a Glue iOS app, and it's really for stakeholders that probably wouldn't need to do a lot with the clashes, but they maybe want to just load up the model and do things like take measurements. So similar to Navisworks, we can take measurements for distances right in this 3D model. And remember, this 3D model is a combined model that takes all of your 3D models from all your different design tools and all your different team packages them together. So we can do distance measurements. We can find the shortest space between two, minimum clearance between two objects. And we can put markups in, view those markups, hand draw lines, text, all that kind of good stuff. And then we can assign those things to individual team members. All right. All right, next we'll talk about field. And let me find my notes. All right, so Field is a field management software. For a lot of our clients, this probably isn't going to be the primary place you're going to spend time, but some of you it will be. So what Field allows you to do is really look at your construction documents in the field. And we'll start by taking a look at the iPad app. So here we are on the iPad, and we're working in an offline or disconnected mode where you can work locally without the need to be connected to Wi-Fi or cell service. So when you're in the office, you can download PDFs, documents, cut sheets, and all that good stuff. And then when we take it into the field, we can use it, we can mark it up, and then we can come back, we sync. We simply browse the library of documents, we select what we need, and we bring it up. You pan and zoom around in these documents. These are just PDFs in this case, to find more information. You can create checklists and document issues with photos. So we'll talk about a quality inspection. So we create a checklist. We start with a set of templates for quality control checklists. They can either be pulled from your company's master library, or you can import them from Excel, or there's some built-in content you could leverage. But they can essentially be configured by the project team and specific to the project. In this case, we're going to do a ceiling close-in. So we just work our way down the checklist, picking yes or no, true or false, pass, fail, however it's configured. There's an eye icon for issue. And if it's turned on, that means there's an issue here. If we click on it, it allows us to create the issue and attach any documents we need to. So we can attach photos, we can mark up those photos, we can attach documents, which could be PDFs or docs or and really any file format. And it automatically creates an issue in the database. It'll have a unique ID, and then we can follow up on it, assign it, and so on. It allows, once an inspection is complete and you filled out the entire checklist, then you get to sign off on it. And then when we close the checklist, it doesn't have to be complete. We can come back to it later if we're not totally done. Another way to capture issues in the Field app is with push pins. So as I walk around in the field and I find a problem, I can actually then look on the plans, insert a push pin in that location, and attach an issue to it, where I would then mark up the issue with images, text, and such. Yeah. And then I can search through all the issues. I can see all the latest issues and click on them for more information. I can add comments to them, attachments, like I said, images, markups. And then if we want to, we can filter or search through issues for a certain type. And so we're going to look at just the ready to inspect issues. And there they are. All right. Let me find myself. So next we'll look at the task management capabilities of 360 Field. Field offers the ability to create and manage tasks for a project. It can be assigned to companies or individuals. It can be configured for simple things like scheduling a material delivery or notifying a sub to perform a job walk or something like that. Here we have a list of tasks that have been assigned to this user, Anthony. So we can see names, descriptions, and statuses. So at the beginning of each day, a worker can come in and see all the tasks that have been assigned to them, and they can start work immediately because they have all the information they need right there on the app. And they can get right into the checklists from those. Like if one of their tasks is a checklist, they can get right to it, along with any attachments, issues, anything that's associated with those tasks. Right. Track the installation of startup equipment. This just notes that the field app is able to scan barcodes and then take you right to that data for that actual piece of physical equipment. And this is something we'll see come up again later when we talk about ops. But as equipment is actually placed and started up, we can connect the field objects to the model objects and all their information. All right, and then documenting equipment data for commissioning purposes. So at the end of the field, we'll have all the information about all of our equipment kind of available to us, and we can export it. We can also make this data available to ops so that the handover from construction to operation and maintenance saves a lot of time. Here's a nice little workflow. So here's an exported Excel file of all that information. Although this slide is titled Glue, it's actually talking about layout, and this is going to be a short one. So BIM 360 layout is really sort of a sub-feature of Glue. And the layout is an app for iOS or the web service, and what it does is it allows contractors to take points created natively in Revit, AutoCAD, and so forth, and find them in the field. So here's some of the features. Like I said, take points directly from AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks into Glue, and then sync them with the layout app. It can connect with Total Station hardware, and then out in the field, we can find those points, take them as necessary. Let's see, I got a question. Let's see. All right, I'll get to those questions a little later. So, real-time layout of design model-based points. Okay, and then ops. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Ops is the latest offering in BIM 360. And what ops is for is it's for owners and operators. Have 4 components available in both iOS and the web. There's dashboards, which provide personalized, person-specific content and insight. They're a little bit different for each of the typical end users, managers, technicians, and building occupants. And what you see here is a dashboard for one building. And at a glance, the manager can see the status of tickets. I can swipe the page to go to the next building. Assets can be added manually as needed, or they can be brought in from BIM 360 field. And the contact modules provide the manager with the ability to find information about technicians and vendors. They can also invite and onboard new technicians to buildings they create. And then tickets, of course. So for tickets, there's 2 types of tickets. Reactive tickets are the ones filed by building occupants or any other users, really. And then the other type are preventative maintenance tickets, and they're created or scheduled by maintenance tasks for assets. So here's the details of a preventative maintenance ticket. And it's been launched from the scheduled tasks. And the technician can do the same things here. They can view the asset, 3D model, PDFs, manuals, or other documents. And they can access the tickets spawned from scheduled maintenance tasks, access the checklists, and so forth. So again, these are the scheduled routine maintenance tasks that have been created for the individual pieces of equipment, and then checklists and information that go along with them. And of course, they're doing this all in the field, so they can see what they need to do. Now, if they're in the field and they find a problem, we can put barcodes on all the equipment, and by just scanning it, we can bring up all the information about that. For instance, in this case, sump pump, where we can then look at the scheduled maintenance tasks, who's assigned to it, and so forth. So this is the kind of information you would see if we scan that pump. And here we've got documents and manuals associated with it, serial numbers, installation dates, and so forth. And this is the reactive ticket. Again, this is the one that is typically created by building occupants. You can see over here in the third one, HVAC vents over my cubicle are out of control. It's too cold in here. This is the interface that occupant would have used in ops. So they would have found that piece of equipment close to them, and then they would go through and say, oh, I'm too cold. And this is all customizable so that tickets can be automated and yet customized to the use. Here's that process. So just some examples of the tickets that those users would create. And then this is what the owner or manager might see. The name of their technicians, and then sort of the status of their tickets that have been assigned to them. All right, and then BIM 360 plan. BIM 360, let me see. BIM 360 plan is a cloud-based production planning product. It's designed as a software version of the sticky note planning process, and it's meant to help construction teams develop reliable work plans by following lean construction principles. It enables everyone working on a project to access and update schedules from the job site, the trailer, or the office. And each project has its own set of companies, contacts, location sets, and work schedules, activity commitments, teams add activities they're committing to complete, and then you can visualize the plan or the schedule really in list, swim lane, or Gantt views, and then you can track performance. So just to touch on explaining what that is, it's a scheduling tool for lean construction practices. We can, if you're more interested in that kind of stuff, then contact us after the presentation. We'll get more into that. So at that point, I'm actually going to jump out of the slideshow, and I'm going to show you what docs, or sorry, yeah, mostly what docs and a little bit of design looks like. So when a user logs in to BIM 360, they'll actually see a first screen that allows them to choose which of the products they're trying to get into: docs, design, plan, glue, all those different things. Here we're in docs. And I just want to show you at first up here in the top that we're going to look at all the different hubs we're in right here, accounts. So you can see for me, I've got three: the CAD Masters account, Parametrics, and this TS Construction. If you work on lots of different projects and the project maybe is maintained by different entities, then what we're going to see is that every time you get invited to a new project, maybe by a new company, then you'll see a new account show up right here. And so that's just critical because we've seen people not be aware of that and have trouble finding their projects, and this is why. Within this TS Construction account, then I've got only one project, this Autodesk Center FM. And that's what I'm looking at right here. And on the left is this sort of folder structure. You can see some folders are expandable and some just contain objects right in them. And that's just created by going up here to the plans and project files are always there, but underneath that you can come to the three dots and we can add subfolders, rename. We'll talk a little bit about permissions in a minute. So it's really easy to to create a new subfolder. If I go to electrical, add subfolder, I can call it correspondence, just like that. And then I talked a lot about permissions. If you go to any of the individual folders here, you can go to permissions. You'll see permissions which apply to all the subfolders as well, unless they've been overridden. And here's all the individual users. But we'll also see it doesn't have to be individual users. Down here we've got project manager. So someone who's assigned a project manager role is only going to be able to view and upload to the electrical folder. And someone who's a part of the Autodesk company is only going to be able to view. Let's talk about if I did want to add users. So when we click on the square of dots right here, that's where we can kind of switch between the different elements. And the project admin element is where we're going to actually kind of set everything up. So there's the profile, which applies to the project. And it's going to have the kind of project it is, the image we're going to use with it, the name, the value, all that kind of stuff, the location, which we'll see come up again in a minute. Under members, this is where we can add new members to the project. We can assign them a role in a company. And then over here on the right, what you're seeing is the ability to make individual users administrators for each of the different offerings. Here's our companies. Like I said, we can also do access control via company, and the users are going to get those assigned. Services is where we can turn off services, turn on and off services for an individual project. So we might have quite a few projects. Maybe some of those projects don't require design collaboration because they're not being done in Revit. You can just keep that service turned off. And let's go to the project home. So project home, this is what the user would, any user would see when they log in. And it's going to show you the location of the project, weather, any checklists, submittals, field issues, anything we have that have been assigned to me. You can see that I've got one document issue right here. I can click on it, and it will take me to that issue. I don't think it says anything. It does have an attachment. So my Revit model I can look at and whatnot. It's an open issue. Here are all the issues for the project. And right here we can change who's assigned to them, the state of those issues. We can attach documents and whatnot as well. Let's go back to folders. Now, let me show you some of the built-in viewers. We talked a little bit about it, but we haven't seen it yet. So when we look into the folder structure and we find a design file, when we click on it, it's actually going to take us right into a 3D viewer. In the case of Revit anyway, it's a 3D viewer. And here's our model. Controls, orbiting, panning, should be pretty close to what you're used to in the design tool you use on your desktop. And we can measure, add markups, and all that stuff, and that would be to this view. I want to show you that there's a history. Actually, this is not one with the history. Let's get out of here. Let's find one that does have a history. I believe in my scroll. This one. Yeah, go in here. So my structural model, we're on V3. So every time a new version of the file is uploaded, it's going to automatically version that. This button right here is going to take us to the versions, and we can quickly jump between the versions. And then if I go to like V3 here, one of the tools I have at the bottom is compare, where I can compare, V3 to V2. Give it a minute to do some thinking. And here we go. So here's a list of objects that have been added, removed, and modified. I can turn them on and off. Take a look at them individually. All right. And then I want to show you a little bit of the Revit collaboration actually one more thing. So this also is accessible just through your Windows folder structure, Windows Explorer. So if I go to the BIM 360 preview, here you can see each of the different accounts I talked about a little while ago, the CAD Masters, Parametrics, and TS Construction. I can go into TS Construction, and I will see the same folder structure here that I see over here. And so I could upload, download, open files that way as well. And then in a design project like Revit, let's talk a little bit about the cloud work sharing. So all you need to do to turn on cloud work sharing is, of course, have a project set up where that service is turned on in BIM 360. And then here in Revit, one thing to note is you do need to be on the right version of Revit that collaboration was turned on for. So if I was in 2019 and I tried to do this, it wouldn't work in the case of this project. So here I am in a project, and I'm just going to click Collaborate in Cloud. And I can choose BIM 360 Team or Document Management. BIM 360 Team is sort of the legacy Revit C4R collaboration for Revit interface, which they're phasing out. So for what we're talking about, we're going to do BIM 360 Document Management. And there are those accounts again. Go into TS Construction. I'm in the structural modeling, yeah. And I'll go into plans, and I'll go into structural model, and I'll just initiate. So what it's going to do is it's going to upload this to the cloud. It's going to save a local version in my cache, which is essentially the local model. And then the only thing I really need to be careful about in the future working on this is that I need to be careful that I open the the local cache version of the cloud model, not the one that I started with when I first started the upload. Okay. And once this goes through, I'm not sure we'll have time to look at it, but another really cool feature is when we upload from Revit and we get the sheets into BIM 360 Cloud, all the links that you're used to in a Revit model also apply in the cloud. So what I mean is if I'm on a plan view or a plan sheet and I see a section marker, in Revit you can double click that section marker and it'll take you right to that section view. The same thing is true in BIM 360 when the sheets are automatically created from the Revit file. You can navigate throughout the sheets based on the links of the annotation markers. Okay. Oh, an error. Uh-oh. Well, I have to look at that. I might actually not be on the right version of this project. That is the process. All right. That pretty much wraps it up. Whoops. Get our slideshow started again. So what are the next steps? You guys all know this, right? Pick a project and get a trial started. So there is a trial of BIM 360 docs you can get for free. And you can play around with it, look around with it, put a project into it, see how that goes. And if you have any questions, we can take those now. If you're interested in pursuing it more, go ahead and contact your CAD Masters sales rep. Or if you don't have a sales rep, then you can just contact sales@cadmasters.com for more information. And at that point, I'm going to open this up and see if I can see the questions that are being or have been asked. All right, lots of questions. Let's see if we can get through some of them. Okay, yeah, so first question, one question is what sort of files are the doc files? So for built-in viewers, it's Autodesk files, other than PDF. So we can view PDFs and then AutoCAD design files, CAD files, Navisworks files, Revit files, all that stuff has built-in 3D and 2D viewers in BIM 360. However, BIM 360 docs can really literally store any file extension you want right in there, and you can still do the version control and the access control and whatnot. They assume the doc files are read-only files, or can these be changed? The answer, I guess, the answer is sort of no and yes, right? Versioning. If you upload a new, if I take a file on my computer and I put it on docs, and then I make changes to that file on my computer and I put it on docs again in the same location, does that count as modifying it? I don't know. It's a version 2, so it keeps all the different versions intact as I make changes. And really, the only thing you can modify per se on the in the BIM 360 interface is things like markups and issues and stuff. You're not actually going to be moving or deleting objects right in there. Let's see. Yeah, there's a question about the desktop connector. So there's a few plugins that you'll need. Desktop connector is for design, so that's the Revit collaboration tool, and it is an app you have to download, and it's what allows the cloud-based work sharing. And then there's just a BIM 360 application, desktop application, that allows for what I showed you of the Windows Explorer, where you can actually see the files and the file structure in Windows Explorer. So that would be the BIM 360 app, and the desktop connector, which is on top of that, is what actually allows Revit to do the cloud-based work sharing. Yeah, so somebody asked the question, when you open a file on a local drive, so when I go through Windows Explorer through that BIM 360 preview, and I go to the folder structure just in Windows Explorer, are the file lots respected through Team? Yeah, I mean the permissions, the user-based permission access stuff will actually control what folders and files are visible even to that user. The question, is there a file backup built into BIM 360? Yeah, that data is all backed up, and then the versioning automatically backs up older versions of the files. I guess is how I see that question. Okay, David asked ACI equals question mark. And I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you want to re-ask that question in a different way, maybe I can answer it. So the question by somebody is, so our group uses Sheetset Manager to create and manage drawings and automate title block fields. So their numbering, et cetera, is done through Sheetset Manager, which is great. And they want to know how that's going to interact with BIM 360 Docs. BIM 360 Docs isn't going to interact specifically with the sheet set manager. But the OCR recognition of title blocks, optical character recognition of title blocks, can read that information in from the title blocks on those sheets and name and number sheets based on that information. So I guess that's the workflow. All the AutoCAD-based products, you know, are viewable in the BIM 360 online viewers, and then there's also built-in functionality for uploading to Glue and saving into your BIM 360 folder structure, and that applies to all the AutoCAD-based Civil 3D, AutoCAD, NAP, all those products. Question is, do 360 docs versions feed back into sheet title block attributes? No, I'm not aware of a way to take the versioning from BIM 360 and put it back into the title blocks of the CAD files. It is interesting, though. I mean, it brings up what I talked about earlier on, that you know, we might be able to use the Forge APIs to make it do something like that. You know, for a smaller firm, it's probably not going to be worth it. But if this was if we were a big company and we really wanted to do that, that's probably something we could program with the APIs. All right. That's all we're going to have time for today. If you have further questions, like I said, go ahead and contact your sales rep or sales@cadmasters.com. They can put you in contact with a technical person if it's a technical question. And this is recorded, so we'll put it up if you want to watch it again or anything. And go ahead and get a trial and give it a look. Hopefully you're excited about what BIM 360 can do for your company, and we're here to help you get it up and running and improving your workflow. Thanks for your time.